At the pool, the strange boy with scratches on his cheeks insists he wants to stay by Chigusa's side, caring about nothing else. She stares at him, shocked and confused. The scene shifts to a morning at school where this story begins. Students walk casually through the hallway when a boy tries to force a girl to go with him despite her resistance. Nearby, 3 girls watch with sympathy, thinking that because she doesn't set clear boundaries, boys often approach her and pressure her. Just then, Chigusa steps in and firmly interferes, which annoys the boy. Ignoring him, she grabs the girl's hand and pulls her away. As the boy scolds her for interfering, she calmly turns and points out that he was harassing the girl, and seeing her worried expression is why she stepped in. The 3 girls also agree with Chigusa, but they remark that because she is so straightforward, it's hard for anyone to approach her. After being helped, the girl thanks Chigusa respectfully, while the trio continues to comment on how she always seems to be alone. Walking alone in the corridor, Chigusa feels troubled by her own nature. She thinks her strange way of acting scares the people around her. Feeling helpless, she sits down on the floor in the middle of the hallway. With her head lowered, she quietly tells herself that she only wanted to protect the girl from that bad guy. Meanwhile, back in the corridor, the tall, strange boy asks the trio about Chigusa's class. When they tell him she's in class 4, he calmly thanks them and walks away. The girls are left impressed by his tall height and handsome looks, saying he looks just like a model. At lunch break, Chigusa stands up to get a drink. As she walks, she accidentally overhears the girls in her class excitedly talking about the new handsome transfer student in class 3. She has no interest in him, and their chatter makes her recall her old school, where she was left alone by her classmates. No one wanted to be her group partner, except for one cheerful boy who happily asked her to team up with him. But one day, even her only friend transferred away. Now, holding her drink, she feels gloomy, thinking that she is always alone, not by choice, but because she doesn't want to make others uncomfortable. When she returns and sees a big crowd in front of her classroom, she looks confused. Everyone, including Chigusa, is shocked when the rumored handsome boy suddenly hugs her in the middle of the corridor, happily saying how much he missed her. All the other students freeze at the scene, whispering and peeking through the windows. Because of his tall height, she is almost hidden in his arms. Confused, she asks who he is. When he cheerfully introduces himself as Fuyutsuki Iroha, she looks at him in shock and immediately recognizes him as the cheerful boy from her childhood who once asked her to be his group partner. Seeing her shocked expression, he asks if she recognizes him, but she overhears other students whispering rumors about their relationship and why he hugged her. Embarrassed and overwhelmed, she suddenly pushes him away and angrily shouts that she doesn't know him, then quickly runs off. In the empty corridor, she drops to her knees, still shaken by what just happened. Her heart races, and while catching her breath, she lightly pinches her cheeks to confirm it's real, that Iroha has truly transferred to her school. But she quickly, in irritation, dashes away as Iroha happily approaches her. Even as she angrily ignores him, he keeps following her through the corridor, on the stairs, everywhere. Finally, she bursts out in frustration, shouting at him to stop following her like a dog, and insisting that she doesn't remember him at all. At that exact moment, the bad guy from the morning, along with his 2 friends who had been taunting her, approaches. But before he can reach her, Iroha quickly grabs her, and they both hide behind a wall. Watching the boys leave, she turns to Iroha and politely thanks him for saving her. However, she becomes flustered, her cheeks turning red as he bows slightly and holds her neck. When she shouts at him, he calmly teases her short height. In a burst of anger, she pushes him away, angrily shouting at how much taller he has grown since childhood, but she has perfect height herself. He laughs when he hears that she remembers him, and realizing she unintentionally spoke the truth makes her nervous, while he playfully teases her about being a bad liar. At that exact moment, the school bell rings, and he waves at her with a promise to meet later, while she nervously walks down the corridor. Then she notices him staring at her lunch and asks if she made it herself. Seeing him so excited to try it, she finally shows him the egg rolls with her chopsticks. To her shock, and that of nearby students, he immediately takes one directly from her hands and eats it. Her cheeks flush red, and in broken words, she suggests he eat by himself. But he ignores her, smiling blissfully as he enjoys how delicious it is. This makes her emotional, as no one except her family has ever admired her handmade food, and she hasn't eaten with anyone in a long time. Seeing them so close, 2 girls sitting nearby whisper and taunt, mocking them as a bad couple, and even questioning Iroha, wondering why he is hanging out with the strange Chigusa. Overwhelmed with frustration, Chigusa clatters the table and stands up, shocking him since she hasn't finished her meal yet. But she angrily folds her lunchbox, places it back in her bag, and dashes out of the classroom. While the girls gossip about Chigua's suspicious behavior, they worry she overheard their conversation, but both girls are shocked when Iroha sits in front of them with a bright, sly smile, making it clear he's heard everything. While Chigusa walks alone in the corridor, she scolds herself for this situation. Iroha's rumors add to her gloom. Suddenly, her physical education teacher approaches, speaking sternly about her swimming grades. Chigusa's fear of swimming stems from her parents' death, and she sadly apologizes, dashing away, determined to skip swimming. Unbeknownst to her, the mysterious guy from the morning overhears their conversation. As she runs away, she accidentally crashes into someone. Looking up, she's shocked to see Iroha, who claims he just came to check on her and suggests she return to class. Frustrated, Chigusa raises her hand, telling him to stop following her everywhere. Though Iroha assures her he's doing this because they're friends, Chigusa's annoyed, shouting that he can make more friends, implying he should leave her alone. Ignoring her frustration, Iroha moves closer, almost pinning Chigusa to the wall. He bows down, holding her hand, and whispers, he's there for her sake, leaving her flustered. Chigusa tries to catch her breath, shouting at him to leave her alone, but Iroha denies it, his expression intense. He claims he's teaching her a lesson, saying he's only there for her. Chigusa's speechless, her emotions in turmoil. Gathering courage, she gasps, removes her hands from his grip, and angrily tells him to leave her alone. She doesn't need friends. She warns him not to interfere or follow her again. Iroha looks hurt, but Chigusa runs away, almost scolding herself for her stupidity. She realizes she did it to protect Iroha, recalling the girls teasing him for hanging out with her. Entering the class, Chigusa's confused by the sudden change in atmosphere. The girls who earlier teased her bow down humbly, apologizing and promising not to misbehave again. The rest of the class looks at her with scared expressions. Chigusa's confusion deepens as she overhears girls talking about her and Iroha. Other students warn them not to speak about Chigusa, citing Iroha's caution regarding her. She is shocked by the students' changed views about Iroha, but her shock turns to panic when she realizes her bag is missing. She overhears that someone's bag has fallen into the pool. Chigusa's eyes widen as she realizes it's her bag. She rushes to the pool, ignoring Iroha in the corridor, and stands scared at the edge. Her anxiety spikes as she confirms it's her bag. Nervously, she looks around for help, knowing no one would assist her due to her distance from everyone. She thinks about Iroha, wondering if he'll help. As she helplessly looks into the pool, the mysterious guy from the morning appears, taunting her to get her bag from the pool. He laughs, knowing she fears the pool, and says no one will help her due to her slow and tired nature. As Chigusa hears this, she confidently speaks that in the morning he was just teasing the girl without her consent. This realization angers him, and he grabs her, almost forcing her to fetch her bag. Standing alone by the pool, Chigusa realizes how frightening it is to be by herself. Tears well up in her eyes. The bad guy tauntingly smiles, wanting her to show this scared look to everyone. She is about to speak, but they're interrupted by a loud stomp and water splashing. They are shocked to see Iroha emerging from the pool near her bag, looking at them with a smile. Chigusa freezes the moment she sees him. Iroha steps out of the pool, water dripping from her hair, and holds out her bag. He sits down in front of her, calm and unshaken. When she asks why he's here, he answers by calling her a bad liar. He says he came to help, that she should have called him when she was in danger. He promises to protect her. He promises he won't leave her alone. The troublemaker storms in, shouting. Iroha stands, unfazed, and reminds him he's the one intruding. He mentions how she protected a girl from him that morning, like a superhero. That only angers the boy. He punches Iroha in the face. Chigusa gasps, shocked, but Iroha only smiles. He warns him not to start a fight, then suddenly kicks him down. The boy collapses. Iroha grabs his collar and punches him again. Chigusa trembles, realizing why their classmates fear his obsession with her. He suddenly looks dangerous. Terrified, she stops him as the boy lies unconscious. Iroha ignores it and focuses on her wet belongings, carefully taking them out. Nervously, she tells him he should make other friends. He stubbornly stays seated in front of her, insisting on being by her side. Guilt stirs in her chest. Despite all her scolding, he still wants to protect her. She refuses again. Iroha quietly picks up a pair of scissors and presses the tip to his neck. He tells her to accept him as a friend, or he'll end himself. Horrified, she begs him to stop. The tip presses deeper. Panicking, she grabs his hand and yanks the scissors away, tearfully accepting his friendship. Iroha's face brightens. He smiles happily, squeezes her hands, and feels glad to be her friend again. While nervous about making the right choice, she whispers to her deceased parents, asking for guidance to handle him. The next day, Chigusa stands in front of her locker, nervous. Though she has become friends with Iroha because of his threat, she isn't sure how to act around him now. Suddenly, Iroha calls her name and hugs her from behind, greeting her with a good morning. Before he can fully react, a few girls searching for him appear in the corridor. She asks him to be their art model. Seeing them, Iroha's annoyed expression is apparent. Using her personality and quick thinking, Chigusa grabs his hand and points him toward the corridor. They end up in an empty room. The other girls, frustrated at losing him, dash away. Although he thanks her for saving him, he's shocked. He didn't realize this room was empty. Calmly, she explains that she often comes here. She knows it's empty. He smiles happily and asks if it's her secret place, and if he can come here too, to spend time together. Chigusa looks at him nervously, but then, aware of his dangerous nature, she silently agrees. Speechless, they share a quiet, nostalgic moment. He happily reminds her of the time they played hide-and-seek at school. He laughs as she realizes she was the only one no one could find, even when the class stared. Only he discovered her, and with a smile, he admires her hiding skills. Resting his head on her shoulder, he says that he just knew where she was, and even now he can find her anywhere, no matter where she goes. Their nostalgic conversation stops when the girls suddenly open the door, annoyed to find him with Chigusa. Chigusa feels uneasy when she hears the girls whispering rumors about her and Iroha, saying that no one would want to be by her side. She immediately dashes away, leaving Iroha behind. Nervous, she runs too fast and nearly slips on the stairs. Iroha immediately grabs her from behind. She helplessly thanks him, and he seriously assures her that he will always stand up for her, no matter what. As she anxiously pulls his hands away, telling him not to take any action, he grows angry. He explains that if he doesn't teach them a proper lesson, the rumors will keep spreading. Chigusa, used to all this, still shouts at him in frustration, torn between worry and annoyance. He calmly suggests she give them answers. Otherwise, in trying to make everyone happy, she will hurt herself. She muses that normally such things wouldn't have bothered her, but this time it did, as Iroha heard it as well. She quickly pulls her hand away from him as he tries to follow, moving down the stairs. Glancing at him seriously, she tells him to stop being her friend if he dislikes this so much, while he stands behind her, silent and gloomy. Later, during swimming class, she sits on the ground, gloomy, watching the other students practice. She feels sad for speaking such harsh words to him, and obviously they haven't talked afterward. Seeing the other girls swim so skillfully and enjoyably makes her feel inferior and frustrated with herself. With teary eyes, she wipes them away. Looking down at her hands, she recalls Iroha's words, that forcing herself to make everyone happy will only hurt her. She clenches her chest, admitting to herself that her heart is already bleeding. Desperate, she wraps her arms tightly around her legs. Suddenly, she senses someone on the net wall. When she looks up, she gasps in shock. Iroha sits on the boundary net, smiling brightly, like a rabbit perched above her. Before she can say anything, the PE teacher yells at him for sitting on the net wall. Iroha just smiles and raises his hands toward her, silently urging her to follow. Mesmerized, she takes his hand. Sliding her sandals on, she lets him pull her along as they run. They finally arrive at a quiet, peaceful spot. Iroha laughs at the teacher's furious expression, and Chigusa is shocked by his boldness in leaving the school grounds. She held his hand without a second thought. With a serious tone, she finally turns to him, urging him to go back. Chigusa is shocked as he pulls her back, insisting they share the ice cream together. Now sitting in the park, he advises her to eat quickly before it melts. She takes a bite, feeling guilty for skipping class and leaving the school, but at the same time, she feels completely relaxed, like she's breathing freely for the first time. Emotionally, she apologizes for speaking such harsh words to him. She's even more shocked when he takes her hand, comforting her and apologizing too, for not being able to protect her earlier from the painful words of others. Confused, she asks why he's apologizing. He smiles, holding her hands, and tells her to ask for his help whenever she feels hurt. Still unsure about his willingness to help despite her harsh words, she watches as he gently assures her with a smile that he's doing it because they're friends. She grows gloomy thinking about how her pain makes him angry, and he brought her here so she could breathe freely. She exhales, realizing that this, being together, supporting each other, is what friendship truly means. Suddenly, he stands and helps her up. Just then, rain starts falling. With no other option, he points her toward the nearby igloo to take shelter. They sit together, shocked by the sudden rain. She politely smiles at him, thanking him. Seeing her smile, he bows slightly and leans in to kiss her. His closeness makes her heart race, and she feels a flutter of nervousness. Embarrassed, he smiles sheepishly and admits softly that her cuteness is difficult to ignore. Chigusa, confused and flustered, stares at him, wondering if this is what friendship is, or something more. As they return, the teacher angrily scolds them in the staff room for skipping gym class, warning that their carelessness could affect their grades and telling them to reflect on their actions. After apologizing, they step outside. Iroha laughs at the teacher's annoyed expression while Chigusa exhales, relieved that they won't have to write a reflection paper after all. He seems to be having fun, but when he notices her serious expression, he grows quiet. Chigusa looks down, admitting to herself that she had enjoyed earlier moments with him. She blushes as she recalls him taking her hand and all they've shared, then slides away. He notices and asks why she's pulling back. She remembers the kiss under the shelter. Comfortable then, but now she feels nervous. When he quietly grabs her hand and whispers about her trying to run, she glances away, recalling his teasing remark about eating her, and instinctively avoids his gaze. As he tries to process everything, he smiles and says that his aunts used to say things like this to their cat, suggesting that her cuteness makes him react that way without meaning to. Chigusa grows confused, overthinking whether his actions are just an act or genuine, knowing his sense of distance. Seeing her suddenly sad, he becomes confused and asks why, but when she doesn't answer, he sighs deeply and walks away. Later, standing in the restroom, Chigusa struggles with her own overthinking, unsure if she's just like a cat or truly his friend. Coming out, she notices the boy who threw her bag into the pool, a bandage on his face. He is asking 2 students to come with him, saying he's going to the high school, but both students immediately hesitate and refuse. While passing by, Chigusa overhears the boy's confusion about being invited by the guy. They aren't even friends. She looks back at him. He turns away, annoyed, clenching his teeth. As she and 2 other girls pass by, they see 2 boys approaching, calling him Taiga. One of them places a hand on his shoulder, scolds him for lying, and insists that he go with them. Their teasing and pressure leave him looking visibly worried. Chigusa also overhears the girls talking. He is being trapped by the others, but he has to face this because of his own actions. Another girl adds that he was actually a loner at his previous school. Now, in high school, he tried to change that image, but failed. Hearing this, Chigusa immediately turns back, tears welling in her eyes, following them. Back in the schoolyard, the 2 bullies, after beating Taiga badly, throw him into an empty backyard room. They taunt him, saying that being alone means no one will rescue him. Just as they're about to punch him again, they stop, seeing Chigusa there. Laughing at her, they realize she came to save him. Then, cruelly, they throw her into the room as well and lock the door, trapping them both. Sitting gloomily, he asks why she came to rescue him, despite him throwing her bag into the pool earlier. Calmly, she tells him she came so he wouldn't feel lonely. Seeing his embarrassed expression, she reassures him with a gentle smile that someone will find them and there's nothing to worry about. At that moment, the door rattles. Iroha, worried, manages to open it. Seeing him here, she looks at him emotionally, relieved that he has found her again. Iroha, worried for her, hugs Chigusa tightly, relieved to find her safe. Seeing her scraped cheeks, he becomes concerned, but she reassures him it's just from falling on the ground. They look at each other. Taiga, embarrassed for being rescued after acting badly toward her, hangs his head. Chigusa turns to him, offering her supporting hand. He takes it, holding her with an emotional gaze. Now both are standing, while Iroha smiles quietly, seeing Chigusa's caring nature. Suddenly the school bell rings. Panicked, Chigusa rushes off, but Iroha stops her, grabbing her from behind and carrying her like a doll, insisting they head to the infirmary first. Before letting her go, Iroha turns back to Taiga and smiles, reassuring him that Chigusa will be on his side. Taiga, emotional, realizes he is no longer alone. Later, both are sitting in the infirmary. As he tends to his legs, they talk. He reflects on her attention to rescuing the bad guy. She replies that she learned that he was only trying to make friends and end his loneliness. Realizing this, Iroha smiles, curious to know more about him. Feeling relaxed after being saved again, she watches him lying next to her on the bed. Confused, she asks what he's doing, and he suggests skipping class again. Calmly, he explains that one warning, or even more, makes no difference. She notices his stubborn freedom, ignoring everyone else's advice. She lies down beside him, showing confidence in being rescued by him and quietly thanking him. He turns to her with a polite smile, thanking her for her trust, even though he had thought differently. He calmly mentions that he notices reminders of her everywhere now that they attend the same school. Recalling her time in the infirmary, she had held his hand and asked him not to leave, and he quietly promised to always stay by her side. When she pretends not to remember anything, he is momentarily shocked. Then, with a gentle smile, he whispers that just as she saved Taiga, she also brought him into the light. But when she asks him, he calmly changes the topic, clearly happy to see her again, while assuring her he will never leave her alone. He grows confused when she gently turns her back toward him and whispers politely about how happy she is to be with him. She becomes even more shocked when he leans closer, bowing slightly with a polite smile, showing his joy at hearing her words. Sitting so close, her cheeks flush red, her heart racing loudly. Iroha asks if he has become someone special to her, but she is completely mesmerized. At that moment, she sees him in a new light as a shooting star with light, and it fell right where she is. A few days later, recalling their time in the infirmary, Chigusa thinks about how comfortable she felt with him, but grows confused, remembering when he asked if he was someone special to her. She isn't sure if she's feeling friendship or something more. The cafe owner, smiling politely, suggests she take a rest, assuring her there's no rush. She receives a cold drink from her with a quiet, "Thank you." The owner apologizes politely for the hectic pace, explaining it's the start of summer vacation. Chigusa is shocked when the elderly lady suddenly asks if she's thinking about someone special. Then, kindly, she suggests Chigusa visit the nearby fireworks festival, implying she could invite someone. Watching Chigusa lost in thought about Iroha, she realizes it's summer vacation and she hasn't seen him yet. She doesn't even know if he likes fireworks. Noticing how absorbed she is, Lady smiles politely and asks if Chigusa really has someone special in mind, saying it's easy to read her expression. Chigusa, still confused about the idea of someone special, suddenly thinks of Iroha again. Before she can process this, another customer arrives, and the elderly lady moves to attend to them, leaving her confused about her own feelings. Meanwhile, the scene shifts. Iroha sits in front of the old man, who is happy to see him after so many years since childhood, but also a little sad because Chigusa is at work. Still, Iroha brushes it off with a bright smile, having come unexpectedly. Suddenly, he hears the fireworks. Chigusa's grandfather gloomily recalls how Chigusa goes to watch them properly. Every year after her parents' death, she went to the garden but could only see the fireworks from a distance, blocked by the buildings. He reflects on how she's done everything alone since then. Happily, he wonders if she could have many friends like him. Hearing this, Iroha spills his drink. Chigusa's grandfather stands, asking if he's okay, and wipes the table. He apologizes, and reassures the man that she has him. Back at the cafe, the owner apologizes to Chigusa for keeping her working so late. She refuses politely and steps outside. Seeing the fireworks, she feels gloomy that she can't see them properly because of the buildings. She sighs, thinking Iroha might be watching them from somewhere, but noticing him sitting on a bench nearby leaves her confused. Seeing her still working late, he notices her confusion. He explains that her grandfather had told him about her work. Grabbing her hands, he quickly pulls her to follow him. She looks puzzled, unsure where they are going. He turns to her with a polite smile and says they're going to a place where they can see the fireworks properly. Trusting him, she follows. They finally arrive at a quiet, bright spot. Seeing the huge fireworks light up the sky makes her deeply emotional. He smiles, watching her excited face, and assures her they will see the fireworks together every year. Chigusa looks at him, confused. There are other people around, but she feels how genuinely excited she is to watch the fireworks with him. Still confused about the idea of someone special, she asks him what he thinks, hoping he can help her understand. He asks if she would consider someone else special for her, or if he is not enough. Seeing her confused expression, he comes close, making her heart race, and says he wouldn't like anyone else to be special for her. He wraps his hands around her. As the fireworks light up the sky, he leans close and kisses her, showing that no one else could ever compare. He sits beside her, and for a few quiet moments, they share the closeness until Iroha does something unexpected. Though surprised by this side of Iroha, she feels warmth and comfort in his presence. He gazes into her eyes, earnestly asking for her heart, wanting to be more than just a friend or someone special. He wants to be everything to her. Iroha recalls a memory from their childhood. Everyone whispered about him, calling him weird for drawing a green sky while all the other kids painted theirs blue. Overhearing the rumors, he sat alone, gloomy, wondering why everyone chose blue, and the strange looks from the other students only made him feel lonelier. Now, as summer break ends, students return to school. Chigusa sits nervously in the restroom. After their kiss during the fireworks, she refuses to meet him again, lacking the courage to see him on the first day back. Cautiously, she peeks out, making sure Iroha isn't around. She steps out, only to accidentally bump into a nearby boy. Before she can react, she feels his hands gently hold her from behind. He reassures her, softly apologizing for not noticing her sooner. Seeing her, the other boy quickly warns him, mentioning the rumors about Chigusa. Hearing this, she feels embarrassed and wants to hide somewhere. Excited, the boy eagerly talks to her, recognizing her as the new part-timer at the soba shop. He is their grandson. Hearing that they attend the same school, he's glad to meet her. He extends his hand and introduces himself as Asahi Huma, a second-year student, explaining that although he didn't work much over the summer, he plans to take more shifts so they can work together. Chigusa, surprised, reaches out to shake his hand. Other students watch in shock, but before she can touch his hand, Iroha appears behind her, hugging her protectively and warning Huma not to. Embarrassed, he apologizes politely and asks if Iroha is her boyfriend. Without answering, he pulls her away, keeping her close. As she walks with him, she glances back at Hyuma, who waves happily at her. She returns his polite smile, showing her own happiness at meeting him. Iroha, however, watches Hyuma like a rival. Hyuma's friend warns him not to get involved because of the spreading rumors, but Hyuma smiles and says she doesn't seem bad at all. Walking up the stairs, Chigusa angrily asks about his behavior. Still holding her hand, Iroha asks if she knows him. She explains he's the cafe owner's grandson where she works. Turning away coldly, he comments on her refusing to meet him but still trying to make other friends, leaving her confused. When he admits that he doesn't like Yuma, she emotionally responds that no one else treats her so politely, so he must be a good person. Iroha, gloomy, turns to her, bowing slightly, and asks that despite her unanswered questions, she still wants to be his friend. Then, coldly but sincerely, he adds that she only needs him, no one else. She looks at him gloomily, then glances down, sadly blaming him for denying her feelings and pushing her toward not making more friends. Hearing this, he immediately pulls back his hands, then turns and assures her he wouldn't hurt her, walking away. She glances back, conflicted, guilty over her harsh words, but also strangely curious, remembering how warm his hands felt. Later, the teacher calls her into the staff room and asks her to give this printout to Iroha, explaining that he went home after a high fever. Holding the document, she feels worried, realizing he's been running a fever. Guilt washes over her. She has even hurt him without noticing his poor health. Determined, she decides to visit and apologize. Meanwhile, Iroha recalls a childhood memory. Seeing him alone, she carried her green-colored sky drawing and asked if he had seen it. He nervously admitted he hadn't. He had just drawn it as he wanted, thinking others would call him weird. Despite that, she happily admires his painting and wonders what other scenes he might draw. The way she looks at him is so beautiful that he wants to keep it all to himself. At present, she arrives and rings the bell. Iroha, sleeping from his fever, barely rises and opens the door. Seeing her, he becomes emotional, pulling her into a hug, showing how happy he is to see her. He gently pushes her inside while still holding her. Even as she sits nervously near the door, he sits beside her, still hugging her. Gloomily, he wonders aloud if, with his fever gone, the dark things in his heart might vanish. Seeing her confused expression, he explains that if someone else tries to befriend or touch her, his heart becomes black with despair. Helplessly, he holds her close, placing her hand on his chest to show his pain. He quietly asks for her help to heal him. Lying in her lap, he shows his helplessness, revealing that although he doesn't want to hurt her, he's scared of his own feelings. Though she doesn't fully understand him, she gently pulls him into a hug and pats him to comfort him. Holding him close, she quietly assures him that she will never leave. Iroha reflects that the way she looks at him still carries the same beautiful color. Heading to her part-time job, she knows that Iroha's dark feelings still concern her, but she opens the door determined to make more friends. At the cafe, Yuma greets her happily, glad to be working together as they have a few days. They exchange smiles, wishing each other the best workday today. The old lady greets her warmly, wishes her a good day, and tells Hyuma to take an order. Seeing Hyuma working so friendly with the customers, she realizes he's genuinely a good person and decides to try making friends with him too. During their break, they have lunch together. Hyuma happily enjoys his meal but grows curious when Chigusa watches him. He shows her a video on his phone of an escape room and asks if she's interested. He explains he wants to gather 3 players, but no one else seems interested. Seeing the video, she shows interest, and he asks that her boyfriend could join them. Confused, she freezes. When he clarifies he's talking about the new transfer student, she panics, standing up and loudly denying that he's her boyfriend. Realizing her mistake, she sits down, embarrassed, quickly adding that he's just her friend. Hyuma smiles, apologizing for the misunderstanding, and asks if her friend would join the game, as he wants to play too. Chigusa feels confused, unsure whether to invite him or not. The scene shifts. Hyuma waits at the train station. When Chigusa arrives with Iroha, she apologizes for being late. Hyuma politely dismisses it and properly introduces himself to Iroha, extending his hand for a shake. Iroha, however, folds his hands coldly, refusing to shake and saying he only came because of Chigusa's invitation. As she tries to reason with Iroha, Hyuma excitedly places his hands on their shoulders. Iroha glares at him coldly and stops him from touching Chigusa, which makes her worry about whether their plan will actually work. They finally arrive at the destination. Two ladies happily open the room for them. Entering, the trio is surprised by how luxurious the place is. When Hyuma asks, both admit it's their first time visiting. Hyuma becomes confused when Iroha, with a stern look, grabs Chigusa from behind, ready to leave. Hyuma, smirking mischievously, reaches out and grabs her from his side, holding her by the shoulder. Seeing this, Iroha angrily rushes toward Hyuma and grabs his hands. Both boys are confused to see them handcuffed together until Iroha realizes Chigusa is missing. Just then, a service attendant arrives and announces that, in the game, Chigusa, the princess, has been kidnapped by a witch. He points them toward 3 rooms and explains that they must solve the mystery together to find her. Iroha grows anxious, trying to strategize and insisting Hyuma stay distant. Hyuma, however, suggests searching the rooms. Iroha stubbornly sits on the floor like a sulky dog. Seeing this, Hyuma sits beside him with a polite smile, patting his head. Then, with a teasing grin, he apologizes, ruffles Iroha's hair, and laughs, suggesting he shouldn't keep his distance. He'll lead him to Chigusa. Without listening, Iroha angrily grabs Hyuma's hand and bites him. Hyuma screams in pain, confused by the sudden bite. Annoyed, he muses that people normally don't bite. After searching many areas, they finally find the treasure box. Hyuma feels confident but can't locate the key. He suggests going inside the huge box to search, pushing Iroha in first. When he resists, Hyuma kicks him inside, and with both still handcuffed, they end up crammed together. The close space makes Hyuma slightly uncomfortable because of Iroha's long legs, but instead of getting angry, Hyuma understands and laughs, teasing that it really is uncomfortable. While searching the box's walls for the key, he touches Iroha, adding a playful tension to the cramped space. Hyuma searches for the key, while Iroha angrily shouts at him for tickling him. After a long, chaotic search and teasing each other, they finally find it. Both collapse on the ground near the box, completely exhausted. Hyuma jokingly comments on Iroha's cute side and tickles him again, while Iroha, frustrated, yells that he's doing it on purpose. They stand up and move to open the final room. As they enter, Hyuma calmly admits that working with Chigusa made him realize how kind she is. Seeing Iroha, he adds that if someone she treasures is by her side, then he must be a good person too, an admission that catches Iroha off guard. The staff congratulates them on escaping, but also scolds them for their silliness when they reveal that the handcuff key had been in the first room all along. On the walk back, the two boys tease each other about being stuck in the box. Chigusa, overhearing Iroha calling Hyuma's name so casually, grows confused. With a polite, joking smile, Hyuma tells her about Iroha's weakness for tickling. Iroha, annoyed, interrupts, warning him not to tell her. Hyuma, patting Iroha's head playfully, apologizes jokingly, but Iroha, still angry, yells for him to stop touching him. Hyuma, clearly enjoying the situation, asks Iroha if he'd bite him in that case, teasing him further. Through all their teasing, Chigusa listens carefully, realizing she can't follow the boys' conversation. Then, noticing the new warmth on Iroha's face, she feels a deep calm settle over her. When Iroha happily turns to her and asks if they should move on, she just smiles, understanding the situation. Like her, he also wants to step outside the little world he's built for himself, a world where he can be at ease with her. Sitting together on the train, she quietly informs Iroha about their next station. Dazzling her with his presence, he rests his head on her shoulder, suggesting they wait a few minutes. With a soft smile, she quietly admits she wishes they could stay like this the entire ride. After spending a happy, fun day together, Chigusa feels relaxed and joyful. Walking through the school corridor, a small keychain catches her attention. Picking it up, she wonders whose it is, then notices a girl looking worriedly through her bag. Chigusa approaches and asks if she's looking for it. Seeing it's hers, the girl relaxes and takes it, thanking Chigusa with an emotional expression, explaining she lost it at the train station. Chigusa smiles, happy to help, but suddenly realizes this is the same girl she helped a few days ago when Taiga was involved. She hesitates, then gently reminds her. The girl looks back at Chigusa in shock and gratitude, thanking her for that day. She nervously explains how desperately she wanted to thank her, admitting that she's the one who first helped her. Then, hesitantly, she invites Chigusa to have lunch together. She immediately agrees, feeling a quiet warmth at the connection. During lunch, Iroha grows annoyed, hearing that Chigusa has plans with someone else. Angrily, he asks if it's Yuma. Chigusa hesitates, then nervously fixes her hair and explains that it's a girl who invited her. She admits she only agreed because of Iroha, otherwise her past self would have declined. Her surprise deepens, but when he pats her head with a bright smile and allows her to have lunch with the girl, she feels a mix of confusion and warmth. As he calmly decides to return to class, Chigusa is even more puzzled. She expected him to force her to eat with them. With a heavy heart, she begins to turn back, but Iroha calls her, smiling brightly, and suggests they go home together. She feels relieved and happily nods. At the crowded cafeteria, students notice Iroha sitting alone, quietly eating his meal. Two girls, excited, decide to sit next to him, while another stays nervous in the background. At that moment, Yuma places his meal tray in front of Iroha, happily asking his permission to sit next to him. As he sits down, he looks pleasantly surprised to see how Iroha is sitting there. Although all the students in the cafeteria were excited to see him, his attention had been drawn solely to Iroha. Although our lad is still annoyed, Yuma sits there and casually asks about Chigusa. Iroha coldly shares that she has lunch plans with a girl. Yuma, curious, asks if he has no interest in her in that case. Iroha, confused, explains that making a close female friend is good for her. Yuma, still puzzled, asks if he would allow her to be friends with a guy, which angers Iroha, and he firmly denies it. Then Hyuma, teasing, asks if he has feelings for her like a lover. Iroha is flustered and confused when Hyuma loudly asks if he feels happy seeing her. He should have butterflies in his stomach or feel the urge to touch her. Hearing this, Hyuma recalls their past moments, which leaves him nervous and flustered. At that exact moment, Hyuma notices a gang of bad guys staring at them. Seeing them look at Iroha, he grows confused, wondering if they know him. After school ends, Iroha sits alone in the empty sports room, confused and overthinking Hyuma's question about his feelings for Chigusa. At that moment, the door opens, grabbing his attention. The same group of bad guys enters the room. Calmly, he decides to leave, but one of them blocks his way, sneering. The bad guy reacts instinctively, kicking him quickly, causing him to collapse and injuring his cheek in the process. Iroha glares angrily at them and asks what their problem is. The gang leader, sitting nearby, warns him that if he fights back recklessly, Chigusa could be in danger. A few minutes later, Hyuma is in the corridor when his friend waves at him and leaves. Just then, Chigusa approaches and asks about Iroha. He replies that they had lunch together. She starts to worry as he hasn't seen her text. Just then, the gang spills out of the room, grinning when they see her again. The boys thank her for helping them the other day. Chigusa's unease spikes as she realizes they're the same gang who locked her and Taiga in that room. Her worry deepens when one of them, wearing an evil smile, suggests she go check on Iroha in the gym. They share a cruel laugh as they explain how they threatened him, warning that if he retaliated, she would be in danger. Iroha never fought back at all. Without a second thought, she rushes to the gym, tears streaming, ignoring the boys' teasing laughter behind her. Opening the door, she sees him sitting with his back supported, a bleeding face, and panic spikes in her chest. She asks urgently if they took revenge for helping Taiga the other day. Seeing the faint happiness on his face at her arrival, she recalls the gang threatening him using her name. Hearing this, anger flares in her. She shouts that his being hurt will never make her happy. Hyuma gently places comforting hands on her shoulders, trying to calm her down, suggesting they go to the infirmary. Iroha, accustomed to injuries like this, quietly shakes his head. As Hyuma steps away to call the teacher, Chigusa loses her strength and nearly collapses against Iroha, silently thinking that, like before, he might let her lean on him because he hadn't replied to her messages. Grabbing her tear-streaked face, he assures her he will never leave her and apologizes, still crying himself. He is the one who was hurt, yet he continues to apologize to her. Chigusa is shocked as he hugs her desperately, confessing his love over and over, his words leaving no doubt that this is more than friendship. They fall to the floor, overwhelmed. He kneels beside her, holding her gently, brushing a soft kiss on her cheek while repeating his confession. At night, she lies on her bed, confused, thinking about whether Iroha really confessed his love to her. The next morning, she walks up the stairs, flustered, and sees Iroha standing there. She quickly looks down, blushing, and whispers a quiet, "Good morning," only to be shocked when he dashes away before she can say more. At lunchtime, she rests her head on the desk, gloomy. Her friend, sipping her juice, asks with concern if she's okay. Chigusa remembers how Iroha has been avoiding her, ignoring her texts, not replying, and even absent when she visited his class. Noticing her gloom, her friend asks if she really wants to have lunch together, knowing Chigusa usually spends her time with Iroha. Nervously, Chigusa agrees, and they sit in a quiet corner. Understanding the situation, her friend reassures her that Iroha must have truly confessed his love. Chigusa is shocked when Huma, casually eating a lollipop, approaches and teasingly asks if Iroha actually confessed. Seeing both girls confused, he explains that Ito is his middle school classmate and Chigusa is his part-time job colleague, reassuring them that it was indeed Iroha with whom Chigusa had lunch. Then he asks if Iroha is still eating alone today. Noticing other girls staring curiously at their conversation, Chigusa becomes annoyed and suggests moving somewhere private. Ito believes Iroha might be afraid of her response, but she doesn't recall him waiting for an answer. As he continues questioning her feelings toward Iroha, Ito suddenly stands, emotional, and stops Senpai from overstepping, but he replies that he's getting impatient by just watching. Annoyed at the interruption, Huma shares that when he asked Chigusa the other day, she desperately insisted that Iroha is just her friend, though she seemed unsure of her own feelings. To test her, he asks how she would feel seeing Iroha and Ito together. Ito, angered, glares at Huma, but he calmly points out that Iroha has made it clear that he doesn't like Huma's friendship with Chigusa. Imagining Iroha with Ito, Chigusa feels a pang of sadness. She clenches her heart, sinks to her knees, and cries quietly, thinking she would hate this. Hearing her, Ito feels a twinge of sadness, realizing Chigusa dislikes her, yet Chigusa reassures her that she does not hate her. Understanding the situation, Ito blushes and smiles, admitting how cute Chigusa is in reality. She becomes flustered and nervous. As both friends insist, she seize the moment and chase after Iroha if he's avoiding her. Though she initially thinks she will sit alone overthinking, their warm encouragement gives her strength. She decides to talk to him. After school, she approaches Iroha at his locker, nervous and blushing. Despite his cold expression, she invites him to go home together. Walking, both feel nervous. Chigusa notices his wounded face and quietly asks about it. He only nods, saying nothing. As she struggles to ask about his earlier coldness, a cyclist suddenly speeds by. Iroha grabs her shoulder to protect her, angrily scolding the rider for cycling in the middle of the road. They look at each other, blushing deeply. Iroha lets go of her shoulder, though their fingers brush, and even past kisses flash through their minds. After confessing, even a simple touch makes his heart race. Confused by his own feelings, he apologizes for avoiding her, explaining that just looking at her makes his heart pound uncontrollably. Even as he fights back tears, he confesses he never wants to harm her, though he's still unsure of his own emotions. Chigusa, shocked, calls his name, moves closer, and kisses him, confessing her love in return. They gaze at each other affectionately, lost in the moment until a few voices catch their attention. Turning, they see Huma lying on the road while Ito crouches beside him, both looking confused. Embarrassed but smiling, they explain they followed out of concern and suggest letting them continue. At that instant, Iroha, still holding Chigusa's hand, suddenly pulls her and dashes away. Hyuma and Ito laugh, chasing after them and playfully urging them to stop. As they run, Chigusa recalls how Iroha once found her when she was completely alone. Now, hearing lively footsteps echo through the streets, she feels a happiness she hasn't felt before, swept along by the shared energy.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.